everyone, Paul-ISM. Before we get going today, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the little bell notifications to get notified of our latest videos, give the video a thumbs up, and if you want, leave a comment down below. I answer them all. As always, all the products shown today are listed in the description down below. Click the link, it takes you a big long list of all the products and links to them as well, so you should be able to find anything in there. So, welcome to another video. Today we're going to have a look at the Ultimate Modelling Products primers. I reviewed these, looked at them years ago when we first started selling them. I'm going to come back a little bit more in depth. I've shown priming them on the Subaru videos, but I'm going to come a little bit more in depth here and cover a complete spray rather than, cutting out bits and doing it. I will show it each step of the way through all the different colours as well. So I've got a test piece. I've got a Subaru body there that I've masked into 3. And as you can see, we've already sprayed. We've got white, black and grey. So one side's going to be white, one side's going to be grey, and the top's going to be black. So we get all the colours down, and I'll show you how to spray them. Now, a few people say they have problems with the primer, and it's going to be down to one of a few things. Number one, it's either not been shaken properly. It's really thick in the bottle. It benefits having a couple of shaker balls in there. That helps mix it uniformly all around. Secondly is pressure's not high enough. 25 to 30 psi put through a 0.3mm or bigger needle is preferable. I know some people have got a few smaller needles, but for me 0.3 is the smallest I go through. The Ultimate Apex airbrush is perfect for this. Third one is they're putting it down too thick to begin with. So yeah, thinner coats building it up. I say this all the time, but sometimes I think people don't quite get what I mean. So you want to put a couple of mist coats down, let those dry, and then that's the perfect base then to put your thicker coats on, as you'll see me do in a little bit. And making sure that airbrush is clean. 90 to 95% problems of airbrushing, I'm convinced, are down to dirty airbrushes. They can look clean, you can think you've cleaned them, and they're not. And that will give you so many problems, especially using different types of paint. We're using lacquers and acrylics, then water-based acrylics, alcohol-based acrylics, water-based primer. Some of them don't like each other, they react and they cause problems in the airbrush. That's why I have different airbrushes with different mediums of paint, and I find I get very little issues then at all. But a clean airbrush is a must. 25-30 psi, shake the bottle well, nice thin coat, and that's the basis of getting the primer down. Another worthwhile thing to do as well, which I'm not going to show today, but I have in my Subaru videos, is the prep of the surface you're going to prime on. You're using some UMP airbrush cleaner on a bit of kitchen towel, wipe over the entire surface to get rid of fingerprints, residue, anything that's been left behind when you've been handling the model. Because again, I showed in the Aston video where I left a fingerprint, and you could see plain as day where the fingerprint was, because the primer will adhere around it rather than on it. So surface prep, a little bit of UMP airbrush cleaner on a kitchen towel, wipe over all the surface, then use a dry bit of kitchen paper to dry it off fully. Job done. So doing those key fundamentals will help immensely with the primer work. So like I said, we've got this masked up, so we're going to spray the white, black and the grey. I'll show all the way through. We'll be utilising the airbrush to dry the primer as well. You can leave it to air dry should you wish. And we're going to put 3 to 4 coats of each one down. And I'll show the coverage I get and how I build it up slowly from thinner coats to thicker. The white needs the thinnest coats, being the most, the most see-through paint, I suppose the word is to use. Followed by the grey and the black. The black and the grey you can put a little bit thicker to start with, but the white needs nice thin coats to build it up. Going from there. It's that simple. So let's get started with the video and let's see how we get on. Right, so we're over in the spray booth. We've got 3 primers to test. We've got the Ultimate Black, Ultimate Grey and Ultimate White primer. So we're going to test spray each one, and I'll show you the steps I use to spray. As you can see, it's a water-based acrylic polyurethane self-leveling acrylic primer. Instructions for use on the back, and as you'll notice on the bottom, made and bottled by Badger Airbrush Co. in the USA. So this is the same as Badger Style Res. It's just relabeled for us in the UK and a little bit easier to get a hold of. When you get your new bottle, take your lid off and there's a seal on there. Take the seal off. It should come off in the majority in one piece. What I also like to do is get a knife or a scraping implement and just scrape off the rest of that seal and any residue that's left behind. Make sure it doesn't fall into the bottle. Just scrape her off so it's nice and clean. As you can see, you get a little bit off, wipe that away, then get a bit of kitchen paper and just completely wipe clean the lid. That way you get nothing in there and you know your lid is perfectly sealed. I've got some shaker balls. You can pick these up from the likes of AK Interactive, drop them in, and then when you shake it up, the shaker balls help to agitate the pigments that can settle down the bottom of the bottle. Very important step, shake the living bejesus, and that's a technical term, out of the bottle. And if you want, you can get a Badger paint mixer, get that right down the bottom to make sure it's thoroughly mixed, ready for use. So we're going to use the white to begin with. We've got a Subaru Impreza body from Tamiya. We've masked off the two sides. We're going to spray white one side, grey the other, and then we'll unmask and spray, mask and spray the roof in black. So we've got all three colours down, and I'm going to go through the steps. We've got the Ultimate Apex airbrush, another product made for us by Badger, and our Ultimate airbrush cleaner as well. So we've got the 0.35 needle in the Apex. That's a perfect size for me. Make sure your airbrush is clean and you're about 25-30 psi. Make sure you've shaken that bottle really well, and make sure the surface you're spraying on is nice and clean, degreased with no nasty fingerprint marks or any residue left behind. So we start off with the white, especially important with the white, nice thin coats to build it up. So as you can see, we're not hosing it on, we're not trying to get coverage in one go, we're just trying to get a nice light layer of that primer down, taking our time to go past the model before stopping the airbrush, and then coming back past with just a nice light coat. So the aim of the game here is not trying to get full coverage on the first pass, we're just trying to get a nice light coat down, and then we'll put it down, let it dry, and come back for a second coat. So this is the mistake a lot of people make. I think at this point they try hosing it on way too quick. That combined with other issues, low pressure, a dirty work surface, will cause issues. So as you can see, that's our first coat down. We'll give that a couple of minutes to dry. There we go, that's pretty much getting there now. You can use your airbrush, just blow in air to help dry the primer should you wish. That will speed up the process a lot more. That's what I'm doing right now, just giving it a light blow over with air. Once you're happy with it, give it a test spray of the airbrush again and come back again with another light coat. Again, we're not trying to get full coverage, we're just putting another mist coat down. Once dry, this will give us a perfect base for getting our subsequent thicker coats on. As you can see, we get nice coverage just with these nice light thin coats. You can still see the blue of the bodywork showing through. After a couple more coats, that'll be gone. We'll have the perfect primer white base. There we go, there's our second coat. Happy with that, we're getting good coverage now. Not used a lot of primer, we've not hosed it on, just letting it do its job and lightly build it up. I'm just doing a little test spray on my hand while I'm waiting for this to dry. So like I say, if you blow just air, you can blow it all over the surface of the primer and it really does speed up the drying time immensely. It can dry it 3 to 4 times quicker than letting it sit there. Nothing wrong if you want to let it air dry. If you are going to let it air dry, suggest covering it or put it in a little cupboard or drawer. But as you can see, go around with just the air, really speeds up the drying time. And there we go, quick blast over with air. And we're ready for our third coat. You see we're getting decent coverage. We still see some of the blue showing through, but it is getting there now. Just take your time. Like I say, multiple coats, multiple light coats is the key to getting the white primer down perfectly. Third coat now. Again, test your spray before you commit to paint. And again, we're going in with the lighter coats. You can start building up a little bit thicker now. I'm at approximately 24 degrees centigrade in my modelling cave. So not too warm, not too cold, just about right. Humidity is pretty low as well, so we've not got any issues at all. Like I say, we're 30 psi for the UMP Apex with a 0.35 needle. This is our third coat, and as you see, we're probably a little bit thicker now. getting more of a wetter coat down. I have no issues at all. Now we've got our primary first two coats down. The primer adheres to itself, no problem whatsoever. And you really can start putting down the coats that little bit thicker. Again, don't hose it on. You don't want masses of paint everywhere. But there's coat number 3. Back with coat number 4, we're just giving it a quick dry again with the airbrush. Just using air. You will literally see it dry before your eyes. I can show it in a minute with the darker colours because the white doesn't really show on camera too good. But just around all the areas where the paint's not quite dry. Giving it a blow with air. And we can come back with our 4th and final coat. So as you can see, building up those layers slowly has worked really well. We've had no runs, no fish eyes, no peeling, no pullback of the paint, nothing at all. It's all gone down and adhered really well. There we go, test spray again, and this is our 4th and final coat. So now we can really start building up a bit more for our 4th coat. Obviously, because it's self-leveling, it helps to fill in micro scratches, any imperfections on the surface that'll help mask them as well. And once you've let it dry for an hour or so. You can sand it. I like to leave it overnight, at least 12 hours. You can sand it back, you can reprime, you can spray over it with lacquers, with acrylics, no problem whatsoever. It will take all kinds of paint over it with no issues, whether it be lacquer, water-based, alcohol-based, 2K. I've sprayed everything over our primer and never had an issue with the primer to this date. There we go, just hitting with air again. And that's us pretty much done. So 4 coats, we've got some really good coverage there. You put as many coats on as you feel are necessary. But for me, I think 4 is plenty on this. We've got good coverage, nice wide primer base. Nice even coat all around. The other thing to look for as well, once you're done and you think you're happy with it, just inspect it all around, make sure you've got even coverage everywhere, and if not, just give it another light pass of paint. But there we go, 3 light passes, 1 heavier one, and we've got a nice white primer base. Okay, cleanup. I'm going to show it with the white primer because it shows on camera better. We've got our airbrush cleaning pot, our UMP cleaner as well, Ultimate Modern Products cleaner. This works with all acrylic, water-based or alcohol-based paints. We've got the remnants of the white primer in our colour cup or apex. What we've done, we put a little glug of airbrush cleaner in there. We've backflowed it. And now we're getting our brush. We're going to agitate all the paint in the colour cup to get off the colour cup sidewalls and down the bottom. It's a nice soft bristled Italiary synthetic brush. I've literally had it for years. It is well and truly battered, but does the job well. As you can see, wipe off the excess on the kitchen paper. We'll give it a backflow again. Now, don't ever spray this through the airbrush. Tip it away. Spray the excess. Get the colour cup outside a wipe. Then the inside. And the airbrush will probably be about 90% clean. I have a full video on cleaning the apex further back in the results, in the video search. So if you go back, you'll find the video there. But for me, that's about 90% clean. We'll give it one final flush back. One final little go over the brush while pulling the needle back as well. We'll blow that away. Give it a wipe over, and that's it. That's clean enough for a colour change. Should you wish to leave it now to spray later on the day or tomorrow, I will pull the needle out the back, give the needle a wipe, put it back in and leave some airbrush cleaner in the colour cup until you're ready to go. So, the Ultimate Grey Primer now. I've shaken the bottle up really well. Our airbrush is clean from earlier. Test spray, 30 psi again, 0.35 needle. And we're on the other side of the Subaru body now. Now, the grey, again, build it up slowly, don't hose it on. Nice thin coat all the way around, same as with the white. You will find the darker the colour primer, a little bit heavier you can go initially. But still pays dividends to take your time and build up this paint really nice and thin. Give it a few minutes to dry and then come back with your other coats afterwards. Again, 3 to 4 coats, more than enough for the grey primer. Just paying attention to all your wheel arches, the sills underneath, make sure you get everywhere covered. The same process can be passed down to armour and aircraft. They're just different shapes. And again, just take your time and build up slowly. Even coat is more important than getting a full coat. So we don't want to hose the paint on, just build up nice and slow, ensuring we've got clean, even coverage all around. You see it missed a little bit on that front arch, but I've got it now. A quick check, we can put that down and let it dry. So I've switched to air. Now with this being grey, you should literally see this drying before your eyes. If you watch that front A-pillar by the door, the front, you can see it drying now. A few seconds of blowing air and the primer's already started to dry really well. And again, you can apply this all over and speed up the primer process. If you watch the C-pillar now at the back, well, technically I guess it's the B-pillar on this. But the rear pillar of that rear arch, you can see literally the paint drying. We're not too close. Keeping our distance, just using the air to our benefit. So doing this speeds it up massively. And we can come back with our second coat within minutes, literally. So again, not hosing it on, just building it up slow. We are coming in a little bit thicker now. We've got our primary base coat down, and that's a brilliant key for our primer. So we can start being a little bit thicker. It's a beautiful colour grey, really lays down well. All the colours do. And there we go, coat number 2 done. Excellent coverage, no problems at all. Once that's dry, we can hit it with a third coat and carry on. So the second coat's dry, we can come back for our third coat now. Test spray again, and then start getting our third coat down. So probably our final coat on this, like I say, 3 to 4 coats, judge by your eye if it's thick enough. As long as you've got even coverage, it's nice and smooth. There's no problem choosing how many coats you want to put down, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. As long as you've got the even coverage and everywhere is fully covered, no problem at all. 3 coats is going to do us here. And as you can see, very nicely primed, nice colour. Once dry, it's a very good base to start. Now, we've unmasked it, we've remasked the sides now with a combination of Azu, Tamiya, tape and cling film. And now we've got the ultimate black primer. Again, I'm shaking the bottom really well. 30 psi through the apex of a 0.35 needle. Again, we're going to apply thin coats to begin with. Again, with it being a darker colour, you can be a little bit more heavy-handed to begin with. But thinner coats is the way forward. At least on the black now, we can see the coverage really well as it goes down. You can just see we're doing back, forward passes, overlapping a touch on each one. We're not trying to get full coverage on these first few coats, just trying to get a good base down for our subsequent coats later on. So again, Tamiya turntable, excellent piece of equipment to have. Clips onto the majority of the Tamiya bodies underneath. If not, you can secure it with some masking tape. But it's a handy way of being able to spray because you can hold it, turn it, spin it, turn it upside down. And it's a very handy tool for painting car models. Again, all the products I use in this video you can find in the list in the description. Click on that, you can go over and have a look. And if you've got any comments or questions, pop them in the comment section down below. For our first coat, that's it, we're pretty much done. A little bit more on the rear boot, just at the side of the spoiler. And I could do with a little bit more on that front bumper as well. So another couple of light passes over the bonnet and the front bumper, and that'll do us for our first coat. As you can see, we have gone a little bit thicker with the black. I've been using these primers for years. I know exactly how far I can push them. If you're not too sure, do the really nice thin coats to begin with, but black shows up a lot better. It's easy to see when you're putting it down too wet. And as you can see, we've got nice even coverage just off our first coat. So we're going to cut to air and dry it off. So you can see if you watch that roof, it should dry right in front of your eyes. There she goes. That's just how quick the primer will dry. It's not fully dry, but it's dry enough for another pass. There you go. Works absolutely fantastic using the airbrush. You can see the bonnet now. mostly dry, and the boot lid. It does work really well. Just make sure when you're doing this that your needle is seated properly and you're not accidentally spraying paint without knowing it. I've done it before and I guarantee others have. So make sure test spray it before you commit to blowing with air. Second coat now. So again, building up nice and slow. Now on the roof and the bonnet of this, there's some vents and antenna mounts as well. So make sure you come in from multiple angles in different ways. That way ensuring that you get proper coverage and everything is evenly covered. So there we go. Nice coverage all around on our second coat. Just finish off the boot. Have an inspect around, make sure you get everything covered. Once you're happy, leave it to dry again for a few minutes. Another thing I'm not talked about as well is spray proof cleanliness. As you can see, I've got nice clean paper down. My filter does look dirty. It is, but there's no dust on it. It's been vacuumed. I have spare ones there. Keep the spray booth nice and clean and uncluttered, dust free, and you get a lot less dirt and dust and what have you land in your finish, and you'll end up with a much better finish to start with. So this is coat number 3 going down now. This is all we'll need on this as well. So we did 3 to 4 on the white, 3 on the grey. Well, we did 4 on the white, 3 on the grey, 3 on the black. And that's purely because I like to put the white down a lot thinner to begin with. So, nearly all done. Need a quick reload of the airbrush. And as you can see, going down well. Now, you may find in hotter climates, if you're plus 30 degrees, you may need to put a touch of UMP thinner in there. I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you really have to, but in the hotter, more humid climates, you may find you're getting a little bit of needle tip drying. So 5-10% of UMP cleaner, thinner in there may help you spray. So there we go. There's the grey side, the black, beautiful, nice, silky smooth primer, and our white side as well. All nicely even primed all the way around, silky smooth. It really is a beautiful finish. And even using the white, grey and black as a colour works very well. If you're after a specific shade or a satin black, satin grey or satin white, it's a very good colour to use. So there we go. There's all 3 primers sprayed. Right, there we go. As you can see, flawlessly sprayed, perfectly primed, all different colours. I'm going to now use this for a different video as well at a later date. A little bit of experiment of mine to see if something I think works. We shall see. But yeah, I hope you found that useful. It's literally how I spray the primer. The white, you have to put down in thinner coats. It's just the nature of the beast. It's all white paint's the same. Red, white, yellow paints, they all need putting down in thinner coats, building it up to get the depth of colour. The grey you can put on a little bit thicker, and the black you can put on thicker again. But the key fundamentals: pressure, 25-30 psi, shake the bottle of primer really well, put some shaker balls in like I did, clean airbrush, absolutely need a clean airbrush to do this. If you're getting problems with your airbrush, it's probably not, it's probably dirty. That is literally the simple truth of it. I did a video on cleaning the apex a while back. That can cross over to other mediums of cleaner and airbrushes as well. Surface prep's a good one as well. Make sure the surface is nice and clean. Fingerprints, you know, crisp residue. We've been eating food, chocolate while we're modelling, things like that. We all do it. You're handling all sorts of different chemicals while you're doing the body, sanding dust and what have you. Make sure it's nice and clean. Yeah, it does make a massive difference. And yeah, follow those steps I've done and those key fundamentals, and you shouldn't go wrong at all. So if you've got any comments or questions, pop them down below. As always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com, the Live at the Bench page, the Off-Air Hangout group, and my Paul-ISM page. These are all linked down below, as is a big list of all the products I use in these videos. You can click on that and you'll find nearly everything I've shown you today, and anything I've used in subsequent or new videos coming out. So there we go. Hope you found that useful. Hope it helped some. And I'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.